Tony Talks back in the building. I took a week off in Oklahoma. You know, tornadoes gets wild, so we live in Moore, Oklahoma, or we record in Moore, Oklahoma, and I live here. So if you know, we're Tornado Alley. So tornadoes tend to come through here quite often, or every 10 years, 7 to 10 years. So when that time comes, we kind of all just make sure to play it safe. So that's what happened last week. Week before, I was kind of in a rut. I've been a weight loss journey, so things have been, mentally kind of tough sometimes. But now I'm back, ready to keep rolling. I got a real special guest, man. It's a fella I learned his first time I learned his name. It was Big Country, so I never knew his real name for a while. And then as we got to know each other, my man Garrett White. How you doing, bro?
Dude, I'm good. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is my second time doing something like this. Yeah. So forgive me if I stumble over words or if I get a little cotton mouth or a little nervous or something.
We're good, bro. We're going to have fun. I appreciate you taking some time out your day. I know you've been watching baseball all day. Oklahoma City's really tearing it up this year in baseball. Yeah. In basketball, I think I heard that y'all have had the best season in probably quite some time.
We had the biggest turnaround this past year for NAI. Last season they only played 8 games because of COVID, and they only played in the spring. They were 2-6. First year this past season we went 17 games. So the biggest win differential plus 15 this past year in all of NAI.
That's dope, man. And Coach Barrakoff, shout out to you. He's the head coach. Country's his assistant. Been his top dog for we discussed. I think he said 8 years.
Yeah, this is my 8th year overall, but 6th year with Coach B.
Okay. So what'd you do before Coach B?
Ironically, I actually played for Coach B.
Okay.
Back when Randall University was called Hillsdale.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was a part of his first ever recruiting class.
Really?
So from 2012 to 2014, I guess played. I did not a lot of minutes, but I knew I wasn't going to play a ton. I'm not overly athletic, but I was the best on-ball screener that any teammates ever had. Shout out my guy Phil Carey.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I knew, that if we were in a rut offensively, ball screen, come on, yeah. That next year, 14-15, I was still finishing up my degree.
Okay.
We were the national runner-up that year for Hillsdale, lost to Lancaster.
Yeah.
Beat the number 1 team in the country that year that had won 55 games in a row.
Wow.
On a buzzer beater by Phil Carey, his senior year. The next year, 15-16, we won the whole national championship.
And you were on that team?
Yeah, I was on staff. I was a student coach.
Okay.
And I was doing a lot of film, a lot of scouts. So I was doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Making sure that when we go, no matter the practice, hey, this is what we're going over, play 1, 2, and 3 for the guy. For the other team. We were the number 1 team in the country all year.
Wow.
Had the best player in the country, Trey Sneed, Edmond Memorial graduate.
Yeah, sleeper.
Dude, yeah.
Sleeper. He fed us in high school when he was in high school.
Trey was on a really good team with Kayla McCain. Taylor Parks, I believe it was, that ended up at UCO. His 2 other teammates were Shaq Morris, that obviously went to Wichita State, and then Jordan Woodard. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the OU kid.
Right.
So Trey and Caleb both played for us. We had Ray Wilson. He ended up, in his future, was Conference Player of the Year, All-American.
Shout out to Ray.
National Player of the Year. Yeah, Oklahoma City Douglas kid.
Was X on that team?
Yeah, but I was about to say Xavier Hunter, Midwest City. Yeah, Midwest City.
No, I think he went to Del City.
Or was it? It was Del City. My bad, X. My bad, guys.
You're good.
My bad. But no, went to Fort Scott for a year, then came home.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played for the Wizards with Coach B. So the Wizards were a big thing to help Coach B and Coach Matt Mossman, who was the lead assistant at that time with me. They were able to get a couple Wizards guys to come back and play.
Okay.
After that, graduated in 2016. Went on to Cameron University in Lawton. Was a graduate assistant for 2 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Got my study.
Who was the coach then?
Andrew Brown.
Okay.
Was the coach then. Coach Brown was tough to work for. But I loved the guy.
Really?
What am I trying to say? Wanted a lot out of us. He expected a lot out of us.
Okay.
We would have graduate degree classes are 9 hours as full time, and you could have been in 3 hours, and he wanted you to have get it all in.
Wow.
He taught me a lot of paying attention to detail on a lot of other different things. But I really liked working for Coach Brown. He demanded a lot, but it was good for me. It was very beneficial.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I still take a lot of the stuff he did defensively, and I still use it today with here at OCU.
Really?
Leave Cameron, graduate there, spend 3 years at Randall.
Okay.
1 year as the second assistant, still under Coach Matt Mossman. Coach Mossman leaves, and then 2 years. Those next 2 years, I was the lead assistant. Now, this past season, Oklahoma City.
Yes, sir. Had the big turnaround. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
I watched a lot of games, obviously, because our friend Derek Tunsil was on staff. Mm-hmm. So I tapped in quite a bit. And then also meeting Barikoff and me being close, it was just like, on NAI now, a friend of mine plays at Southwestern Christian. So it was a lot of reason for me to watch.
Yeah.
And I felt like the excitement for NAI is back. So it's been fun to see that and see our in-state schools be competitive in total.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because USAO was good. You guys were good. Panhandle had its ups and downs. SCU was up and down, and then I was just like, this is nice. Oklahoma basketball is looking good.
Yeah, we can't forget about MACU.
Right. Oh, yeah, MACU.
I mean, one of the then they won the national title in 2015-16 season. Josh Gamblin does a great job.
Right.
Does a fantastic job over there.
Does.
A really, really big fan of him and what he does. So good guy. Josh Gamblin does a good job at MACU.
Yeah, shout out to him. So, man, we wrote off that. So we'll get to OCU later. But where are you born and raised?
So I was born. My parents have been out in California.
Okay.
So I was actually born in Long Beach.
Wow. That's nice.
I mean, I was like, they ended up moving to Austin.
Okay.
I was like probably a couple years old whenever they moved to in the North Austin area out in the Hill Country. I mean, my parents still live on the same property that I grew up on.
Really?
Yeah. We're about 45 minutes north of downtown.
Okay.
In a town called Liberty Hill, a very small town, or I guess it used to be.
Not no more.
Not no more. Okay. No, it's like it's growing.
What's nearest by?
We're about 30 minutes from I-35.
Okay.
So it's like Austin is the biggest city.
Okay.
That's closest. We're 3 hours from Fort Worth, probably about 3-4 hours from Houston.
Okay. So then how did you end up at Randall?
So I was actually at Texas Wesleyan my first 2 years of college.
Okay.
My friend Chris McVeigh, who I met at Texas Wesleyan, he met him there my very first year. I went back for his second year. He transferred to Hillsdale. And at the end of the school year, he called me and goes, "Hey, man, I'm like, what are you going to do next year for basketball?" I was like, honestly, I have no idea. I said, I don't know if I'm not going to stay here. If I'm not going to, there's nothing for me here. They said, "Well, why don't you come to our tryout?" And lo and behold, Coach B got the job.
That year he got it?
That year. So the spring of 2012,
okay,
he got the job, and that's when we were Hillsdale. And then, I was part of his first recruiting class, and then played for those 2 years, and then everything that followed.
That's crazy, man. So then when you were playing, did you ever think coaching was in your near future?
I did, yeah.
Really?
Actually, as a player, Coach B, he had me do a scouting report when I was a player. He was like, "Hey, because I had told him I do want to get into coaching," and he goes, "Well, obviously, our lead assistant at the time, Spencer Nunez, he was obviously doing the scouts. He goes, 'Hey, I want you to help us with this scout.'"
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, great."
Yeah.
So I sat in my dorm room. I had my headphones in. I'm just watching the game. I'm just taking a few notes. Just going down, just normally what I do now, turned it in, and I mean, it sucked. We lost, so we ended up losing that game. I'll never forget. At Barclay College, man.
Wow.
It's a tough place to play.
Really?
Real tough place to play. Court is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, it's like a Cracker Jack box, but man, it gets loud in there.
Where's that at?
It's in Haviland, Kansas.
Okay.
It's about 30 minutes from Pratt Community College.
Okay.
But it's a tough place to play. It really is. And unfortunately, we ended up losing the game. But after that season, Coach B came to me. He goes, "Man, that was a great job on the scout. That was you were right. You were just right on everything."
Yeah.
And then I coached an AAU team back home in Texas over the summer as well, like a little 5th grade team. And then a couple high school teams I assisted on. But yeah, that's kind of how I
got into coaching.
I originally wanted to do broadcasting.
Okay.
you know, if you know me, I love talking.
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
Be really loud. I
Yeah.
love talking. But I originally wanted to do broadcasting, but coaching just, I don't know. After playing, I just felt right.
Yeah.
It just really felt right.
Both of them sound fitting for you.
Yeah.
You know, especially now that I've seen you coach. But I know, I mean, I've heard you talk in any setting, and broadcasting sound would have been perfect as well.
You know, I just like I did a lot of research on it. You know, Arizona State, they have the Walter Cronkite School of Broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been like the destination. Obviously, that's like one of the best ones.
Wow.
But coaching just kind of felt right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been a great journey so far, and I'm really enjoying it. It's been a great ride so far.
That's awesome, man. So the transition from Hillsdale to Randall, what was that based on?
There's an NCAA Division II school in Michigan that's also called Hillsdale.
Okay.
And I believe, I don't know, I could be wrong. I mean, I kind of am wrong on some of this stuff, but I believe it was that they said that they had the name before we did.
Okay.
And they said, hey, like, just change the name. We'll give you a year. You know, after that, you know, then they could progress. But we obviously ended up changing the Randall at that time.
So how long were they both Hillsdale? For a long time, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for a long time. So kind of what started it all is like it was kind of weird. So like when people were being recruited to Hillsdale, they were sending all their information and stuff to the Hillsdale in Michigan.
Wow.
And the people up there were sending it to here.
Wow.
So it was like super awkward.
Yeah.
It was like everything was getting mismatched. And like I remember some women's players at that time were like, no, like I have sent you my stuff. And they were told us who they've been talking to, and they said we have no idea who that is.
Right.
So they were sending it to like different school. It was a mess.
Would they come on visits?
Some out of state people, but no, just because
okay.
it was so small. The visits, it's like it's a really quick visit if you've ever been to Randall.
Yeah.
But yeah, like some of the stuff would be sent in, you know, like online, like transferring from like applications or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that was back then, you know, like now, like Randall, you know, what the name, the little bit of weight that it holds, it was different now.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is Randall?
So
is that a person?
Yeah. So it's actually the last name of Benjamin Randall. He was a preacher, a couple hundred years ago, that he was a Free Will Baptist that was one of the first people to allow, like, again, I could be wrong on this,
Yeah, you know, that's good.
but he would allow African Americans to preach in his churches.
Really?
Yeah. If you might have to look that up, so I could be wrong. But Benjamin Randall, yeah.
Okay.
It was he was one of the founding fathers of the Free Will Baptist religion.
That is crazy. So I never knew that story. I never knew the reason behind it, but I'd heard it was a person, but I thought that he was associated with the school specifically. No. So it just happened to be this individual. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the first 3 years in Randall, he was only there for 3 years. How long were you there?
I was there for 4 years.
Okay, 4 years. From the first time you were there to your fourth year, what was the biggest growth changes throughout those 4 years?
Myself or the school in general?
Yourself.
Myself, man, that's a good question. I've always been super outgoing, and so it's really easy for me to get to know people. I mean, if you've ever interacted with me, like obviously I meet everybody and I talk to everybody. But honestly, a lot of it was understanding more about the Bible. Wow. I had grown up. I went to like Awanas. You know, I was born and raised Catholic.
Okay.
You know, I've done the whole Palm Sunday. I've been baptized. I'm saved. You know, but understanding the Bible more was something that really helped me.
Wow.
I took a couple of classes that to this day I'll never forget from Dr. Kuhn. Apologetics was one, and I can't remember the other one.
That's all good.
But he did a great job of helping me understand like arguments for when, not arguments, but for defending points for when you talk about the Bible with somebody that may not be a believer or somebody that also is a believer, to how another way to look at it, how to determine the Bible and everything like that. So that was the biggest thing for me.
Wow.
I mean, I know some verses, but the way that he taught it, It was great.
Helped your growth a lot.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the biggest things.
Yeah. So when you went there, was the classes different than Texas Wesleyan?
Yes.
In what way?
Much smaller.
Okay.
I think a lot of it. So at that time, I think the biggest class that I had was 23.
Wow. It's like high school.
Yeah, it was real small. I mean, at that time there was about 300 people in the whole school.
Wow.
Yeah, real small school. I mean, then there was another class I had 9
kids total.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or like 8 kids.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it was great. It allowed me to get to understand information better. I have a learning disability, so it's hard for me sometimes in bigger settings and louder settings
What's that
to help
called?
process information.
What is that?
I have really bad test anxiety.
Oh, really?
And it's hard for me to get things from my head to paper. But
You know what's crazy? I believe I just heard there's a term for that, and it's called I'll have to think of it. It starts with a D because I work in special ed, so I know some things from all those realms of life in a sense. And I was talking to an individual who said her son, that's his.
Yeah.
And so he all of it's here. He just struggles to put it to paper.
No, I have it was really kind of an interesting story. My anatomy and physiology professor at the time, who I'm still friends with to this day.
Where at?
At Texas Wesleyan.
Okay.
I'm taking the test, and she's watching me take the test. I get up and I go to ask her, I'm just a question about the test. And then she says one word. It had nothing to do with the answer, but she said like 2 or 3 words, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I said and then I put all the answers in order, just right there talking to her. She looked at me and then looked back at my chair and looked at me again. She's like, why couldn't you do that 20 seconds ago?
Yeah.
So I had no idea.
Really?
But yeah, so it really helps me. I'm a big visual learner, and I got to be able to talk things out.
Okay.
I'll be in the office with Coach Barrakoff. I share an office with Coach Barrakoff, and I'll be talking to myself, and he'll turn around and be like, Coach White, you're talking to yourself again.
Hey, they said the smartest people in the world talk to themselves.
Then, dude, I got to be a freaking genius. Got to be a genius.
Yeah, so Barrakoff, you got a genius on your hands, my man. So in high school, was that a thing in high school? Did you struggle with it then?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I have really bad test anxiety. So taking the ACT and the SAT was a big struggle for me.
Really?
Yeah.
And so because no one really knew, there wasn't any accommodations for you?
I knew there were a few times,
Okay,
a couple of times, but the class sizes in the high school I went to, we were really small Christian high school.
Okay, what was that?
It was called Summit Christian Academy. So, I mean, there were 19 people in my graduating class, including me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
My wife went to private school, Christian school. Yeah, she went to Christian Heritage in Del City.
Okay, yeah.
And so I think she graduated with some small number like that.
Yeah, I had 19. It was me and 18 others.
So is that a school you went to your whole life?
No.
When you went to Austin?
So I went there I went to my hometown elementary for a bit, transferred there from fifth and sixth grade, transferred back to my hometown middle school, went there for 7th, 8th, 9th, 7th grade all the way to my junior year. Then my senior year, I transferred to.
Why is that, you think?
I felt like Summit Christian gave me a better opportunities to succeed in college. There was my English teacher, I don't know, history teacher. I don't know, Miss Deborah Huss. Huss. If you're out there, if you ever see this, this is great. She really helped me with study habits for tests. And she kind of helped instill the flashcard system in me.
Yeah.
So I'm a guy that works with, I have to constantly read things to know them.
Wow.
So flashcard, I had 1 million flashcards for everything I did.
Wow.
History, whatever it was, whatever class it was, big flashcard guy.
And this was at the Christian school?
Yeah, this was at my senior year.
Yeah. So me and my wife talk about that, and it's no knock on public school at all. But she was like, academically, it prepares you for college.
Yes.
That work, it doesn't seem as hard when you go into it from Christian school because their academics are a little more advanced and more. And she says in detailed and in depth.
Yes.
That's what she always talks about.
Oh, for sure.
So
because in public school, when I was in public school my first 3 years, there was the state testing. So back in Texas, it was called the TAX test.
Okay.
Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Thinking, or skills, my bad, knowledge and skills.
Okay.
So a lot of what we learned was just what was going to be on that test.
Yeah.
And so me being not a great test taker, I'm like not doing great on any of these tests.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends were like, oh yeah, that was so easy, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But like I get to college and it's like, man, like this is how it was when I was a senior. I just came off doing this.
Yes.
So the flashcards, the study habits I had formed through that year really have helped me get through school.
Wow.
And even get me to today.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I know a lot of people knock private school or whatever, but it helped me a lot to get where I am today.
Yeah, I definitely don't, because we've had very in-depth conversations about it. And because we both never lived either or. She's a lifer. She went there from kindergarten to her senior year. And I've been in public school my whole life, so we just talk it back and forth. But there was a situation where her brother had left the private school when he was like in 9th, 10th grade. Well, when he was a junior in the high school he went to, she was doing that work in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So it was like, she was like, that's where it's different, and I'm like, that's cool. I mean, I don't know if it's they have more freedom to be more in depth, but then again, if you think everything's smaller, you got 10, 15 kids a class, there's not 35 or whatever the situation is. So that's why I never knocked private school, because I'm like, it has its positives and it has its negatives, just like public school.
Yep.
We can't knock that at all.
For sure.
So sports wise, did you play at the private school?
Yeah.
Oh, basketball?
Yeah. So I played basketball. We actually had a really good team.
Yeah.
3 of us, there were 4 of us that were really good. One guy ended up going junior college. Then he played Division I at Samford University.
Oh, yeah.
And then our point guard ended up going prep for 1 year. And then he went to an NAIA in Iowa.
Okay.
And had a really good 1,000-point career. And had a really good career.
That's awesome, man, because that's funny. I didn't know that. I didn't know you went to private school and stuff. And so we're learning a lot today about the country that I didn't know. Yeah, we haven't ever got to really sit down and talk about just life in general.
Yeah.
It's usually just basketball. I remember that one time we were sitting in that little 1-bedroom dorm you stayed in. And guys, let me tell you something. That was one of the smallest places I'd ever been in.
But man, that that's where sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it's a little bit older. It is small, but I mean, I've been really lucky to be able to live on campus there, when I was coaching.
Yeah.
So, it was, got to make it work, whatever it is, living, car, the amount of food you can buy, whatever, man, you just got to make it work.
Right.
You just got to roll with it.
Yeah. So when you were a young coach at a small school and you have to do things like that, the sacrifices you have to make, do those take a mental toll on you after a while, or is it just something you become accustomed to?
Yeah, because there were a couple times where when I was there like in 2015, 16, I had hit a really bad part of my life, and I don't know if I should be admitting this, but I was drinking a lot.
Yeah,
like not just on like Fridays and Saturdays. I'm talking like Tuesday through Saturday.
Wow.
And yeah, I was in a really bad part of my life. Just super depressed, like just not in a good place mentally.
And what would you say, what was causing some of that?
I don't know. Okay. It was a lot of different things. It was just things that I take on myself that I'll be honest, I just don't like sharing.
Yeah.
But I was just in a really bad part. And then one of my best friends in the world, Chris Obgood, who was my teammate at Hillsdale.
Yeah, what's crazy? I just seen him last week.
Yeah.
Didn't know he taught in my district.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead. Keep going.
No, Chris, I call him Hobgood, or my bad, I call him Hobby.
Yeah.
He really helped me with my life at that time. We were really good friends when we played, when we were teammates together, but that year we became really, really close.
That's awesome.
I mean, he really helped me out at that time. I mean, him and at that time his girlfriend did. Hobby he's a lifer.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in my life that are like that, but not a lot of people are like Hobgood or
That's
like
awesome.
Hobby. He's a lifer. Like I'm gonna be like he will be standing in my wedding type lifer.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Hobgood.
Yeah, my man.
What's funny is I played against Hobgood in high school. So I went to Westmore, went to Moore, and we back then us two were the main rivals.
Yeah.
Southmore was who they were, but that was what it was.
The Moore War.
Yeah, and so he always had the funky jumper. Him. Austin Sawyer, they all had them little funky jumpers, but they could both shoot it out the world. And so,
Yep.
my freshman year, we won 3 games at Westmore, and one of them was Moore.
Oh, man.
And that was crazy.
And I know that was bothering Hobby. I know. Because I know anytime that Westmore or Moore play, no matter what sport it is, it's just that different feeling.
Yeah, it's a rival. Like, people don't realize, Texas has their rivals. Obviously, they're huge for what they are. But I've heard many a times in Oklahoma, the Moore War rival, and really not even, doesn't matter the sport, is one of the top ones in the whole state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And, like, Moore War football has thousands and thousands of people come. And Moore didn't beat them for
20 years.
Yeah, and they finally beat him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Hopgood, man, he was a good dude back then. I just seen him. That's crazy. I just seen him the other day.
Oh, yeah. Hobby, I call him I literally FaceTime him like 4 times a week. Yeah. I'm constantly on the phone with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was 2015-16. You went through that tough stretch. Hobby helped you out of it. Thank God you came out of it, man.
Yeah.
Happy for you, because I know, and I talked to a lot of men about this to this day, that sometimes we feel lonely. We don't necessarily confide in people when we go through those type of things. But thank God you had a good individual, man, that's willing to do that for you.
Oh, dude, he was great. I mean, he still is great.
Yeah. So now 16-17, is that the year y'all won?
15-16 was the year we won.
Okay, so you was winning but just going through a tough time as well.
Yeah, just, like you said, you don't, like the rep for guys is you just don't share that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just not how it is.
Yeah.
Like you just got to be like, all right, hey, wake up in the morning, let's just go.
Right. You go out the house and everything's good until you go back in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the scary thing about it. But I tell people all the time on my first podcast, and I was just like, sometimes in life you just have to take that courage and reach out to someone that you truly trust.
Yeah.
And they'll help you out through those situations.
No, dude, he was great. He would. I had this pull out mattress in my couch, and I still have this couch to this day. And it's like first ever couch I've ever owned. So I can't get rid of it. I'm about to move into a new apartment.
And you're keeping it.
And he would he stayed at my house for a few days out of the week. He lived in Moore, so he could go home anytime he wanted. But a few times a weekend, once a weekend, he'd stay.
That's dope.
We would just watch basketball till 11 o'clock at night or whenever the West Coast game was done.
Yeah.
So he was great.
That's dope, man. So then y'all win it that year.
Yep.
Okay, you come out of it, going into the summer. The next year's coming. What guys are on that team? Same guys on 17 or on 16, 17?
Yeah. So I was a GA then.
Okay.
So I had just moved to Cameron to be a graduate assistant.
Oh, okay. And then you came back. So when did you start coaching at Rainbow?
I started coaching it in 18-19.
Okay, 18-19.
Guys on that team, Ray Wilson.
Right.
Cassius Lyons.
Okay.
A guy named Brad Ficken from Australia. He's an Australian guy from Australia, played here in the States.
Yeah, shout out to Cash, and he's married to my friend.
Cash is great. Cash and Carly, man. Two fantastic people. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget Cash when he first got to campus. He was a freshman, you know, but Cassius is great. Mm-hmm. Really happy for him and Carly. I'm glad they're married and everything like that.
Yeah, that's so dope.
Malik Barnett was on that team.
Okay.
He was a St. Greg's player.
So was that after they closed down?
Yeah.
That's when he came?
Yeah.
Okay.
So after they closed, he transferred in. We had Daquan Cubitt, who is now an assistant at Moore High School.
Really?
For the football team. Yeah, he was Daquan was on that team. I'm trying to think, dude, who else was on that team? A kid that I actually recruited, Brandon Askew. He's from Tulsa Noah Homeschool. I'll be honest. I told Brandon this when he graduated. He was the most annoying kid I think I've ever recruited. He was every day. He was like, "Man, coach, I'm out at the gym. I just did I got 500 shots in. Yada yada yada." Oh yeah, every day. Every day. But by God, man, I was like, I didn't know much about him. I kept recruiting him. He goes, "Coach, man, I want to come to Hillsdale."
Yeah.
15-16 was his first year, and 3 out of his 4 years he won.
That's awesome.
He won 3 conference championships, 3 national titles.
That's insane.
I mean, if he would have played his first 2 years, he easily would have scored 1,000 points.
Really?
Easily would have scored 1,000 points. One of the best crossovers I think I've ever seen in a kid. Great mid-range, could really shoot it. Developed into a very, very good on-ball defender his senior year.
Wow.
Yep.
That's in his name. You said Brandon Askew.
Brandon Askew.
I'm trying to think if I remember that name.
Brandon Askew, probably about 5'10".
Yeah.
Has a kind of a little bit of a birthmark right here.
Okay.
A real white birthmark. But no, Brandon Askew, my first ever recruit that's ever committed to any school I've ever worked at.
That's awesome.
Out of the 3 schools, yeah.
Really? Okay, so now How'd that season go?
So 15, 16, or which one?
16, 17.
16, 17 when I was at Cameron.
Yeah.
We finished 4th in conference.
Okay.
We were double-digit wins in conference. We were 1 win from going to the national tournament. We just needed to beat A&M Commerce. But we shot each team shot 30% from the field. It was a miserable game.
Wow.
And we ended up losing, but that's okay. That stuff happens.
Right.
You can't win everything.
Yeah.
The next year, we qualify for the conference tournament. This is 17, 18, lose in the first round to Tarleton State. It was our matchup. Yeah, tough matchup.
So then you go to Randall in
18, 19.
And then how'd that go?
That was a rough one for us.
Yeah.
Rough one for us.
Is that when everybody had left?
So we still had some guys. We still had a really good core left over. Cassius, Ray, Brad, Malik, and Daquan were our 5-star. And Askew, those were our six guys.
Who's the other kid from Memorial that I'm not? Well, you must be saying his name.
That was Caleb McCain.
Okay.
Yeah. 18, 19. We have a really good regular season. We were number 1 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We win the regular season title. We won the conference champion. We won the conference tournament. Very first game in the national tournament, we were upset. In the Elite 8, we were upset.
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
because on Twitter it was like.
Yeah, it was something that I don't know has ever been replicated in the NCCAA.
Really?
Before that one, yeah, we were 5 of 39 from the field, 0 of 17 from 3.
Whoa.
Yeah. We were down 20 at halftime. Oh, it was not fun.
Where's that played at?
So it depends. So at that time, it was at Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, and now the last couple of years now, it's been at Joplin, Missouri, at Ozark Christian College.
So let's talk about the driving that you used to have to do.
The driving, oh man!
Because I remember I've heard some stories back there, and the amount of miles y'all put on them vans, were astronomical.
Yes, so it kind of starts from I was still playing. Coach B, there was this stretch for a week where we played in Missouri, then we drove to Texas, played Sam Houston State, drove back to Missouri, played 2 more games in Missouri, and in total, in a week, I think we had 3 or 4 games, totaled almost 1,500 miles.
Wow.
Because of how much driving that we did. Oh, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And later on, when I became a coach, we've driven a lot of places.
Yeah.
I know the furthest I've driven.
Some pretty cool places, actually.
Yeah, very cool places.
Yeah.
We've been to Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. I have driven to Glendale twice. Mm-hmm. It's a long drive, obviously, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So I've seen the Grand Canyon. I've seen Mount Rushmore. I've driven to Iowa. When I was a GA at Cameron, me and the other GA that I worked with, Preston Breathauer, we took a whole week and we drove from Lawton to Little Rock, watched the high school team in Little Rock, drove after that high school practice to Memphis that night, stayed in Memphis that night, got up the next morning, drove to Itawamba, Mississippi, watched a couple junior colleges there, play a few games. From Itawamba, we drove all the way to Marietta, Georgia, basically Atlanta. Yeah. Stayed the night there, got up the next day, watched a ton of junior colleges play.
Like a jamboree?
Yeah, a little JUCO jamboree, yeah. We left at 3 p.m. From the gym that day, and Preston drove I drove the first 7 hours back. So we basically drove from Atlanta all the way back to Lawton in 14 hours, got up the following morning. So literally 7 hours later, we got back at 4 a.m., had practice at 10:30 that morning because that was the opening day for practice for Division II. Wow. Yep. And so we went from 4 a.m. I got to sleep till 9:30, 10 o'clock, got up, had practice that next day.
That is insane.
After going to sleep.
As a GA.
That was a GA. Yeah, that whole Atlanta trip, I was a GA. Then I did another long trip with Preston. We went to Houston, had a game Thursday. Or no, my bad. I'm sorry. It was Tuesday because that was our off week on the weekend because we had Texas Women's was in our conference and the men's team.
Right.
Played at Midwestern State on Tuesday at 9 o'clock after the game. Preston and I get in the car. This is after the game. Drive straight to our hotel in Houston. We got in at like 3:30, almost 4, because the rain was so bad. Like I had to get out and drive because it was hard to see.
Yeah.
So from there,
Wait, that was from Midwestern State?
Yeah, in Wichita Falls. We drive from Wichita Falls all the way to Houston, get to our hotel, check in. The next day, we go to a high school athletic period, a high school practice, and then this is Thursday. We do the same thing. We go to 2 other high schools, watched an athletic period in practice. Friday, we watched 2 different high school games. Dropped him off at one. I went to another, came back and got him. From there, we stayed that night, got up the next morning on Saturday, drove from the north side of Houston back to Dallas, watched Northlake Community College play somebody. Then from Dallas, after that game, we drove back to Lawton.
That is insane. That's not healthy, by the way, if we're being honest here.
Dude, it was great. I loved it, dude.
That's unhealthy for the body, though.
Oh, dude, it was miserable.
You don't sleep.
No sleep.
I'm sure you're not eating great, healthy foods.
No, there was no sort of health on that.
And you're watching a ton of basketball. I'm always down for that.
Dude, but man, that was like our first time, like Preston and I really got to get to know each other in the car. I mean, I still talk to Preston even to this day now. Mm-hmm. You know, I call him whenever I can. But yeah, we really bonded in the car. It was a lot of fun.
That's crazy, dude.
It was a lot of fun. I saw 2 guys that I've literally watched on ESPN multiple times in the last 3 years play.
Wow.
Yeah, that that us at Cameron had offered and everything like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you go to Randall. Mm-hmm. That driving is crazy too.
Yep, still the same.
Yeah,
yep.
and the thing is, I've always heard is the schools are so far from each other.
Yes. So
the drives are just hours on hours because the school's far. It's not
there's a couple schools that are relatively close. Right. You know, being in Moore, Ozark Christian's in Joplin, so that's about 3 hours. Yeah. You have Arlington Baptist University and Dallas Christian College. Mm-hmm. Now that's 3 hours. Yeah. Barclay College in Haviland, Missouri is like 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Champion Christian is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That's a tough drive. Yeah. Just because it's 6 hours. Yeah. And we did it after a game and we got back at 4 a.m. Yeah. Which is obviously not healthy. Which is not healthy. And then, there are times where we do have to travel to, Iowa to play games, or when we were, at Randall, we played at Sam Houston State. Yeah. And so we went from there after the game. We drove back, got back at 4 a.m. in the morning, and we went and played at Arkansas Monticello in the same year. Yeah. Drove to Monticello, stayed the night, got up the next day, played, drove back after the game, got back at 4 a.m.
That is crazy. And is it the fact that Barikoff just knows everybody, so they play just random guys, or is this actual conference games?
No, so Monticello is Division II. They're in the GAC, and then Sam Houston is obviously they're Division I. Yeah. A lot of the times when we play, they're staffs that Coach B knows. Okay. There's a lot of the games that when you see us travel, Coach B knows somebody on the staff somewhere.
Okay. Because I think I seen y'all play Baylor.
Yeah. So I wasn't on that team. So I wasn't on that. I wish I was a part of that staff, but I was not.
Oh, okay.
That was the 17-18 team at Randall. Yeah. Trey Sneed had 30 points on Baylor.
They gave him a run for the money for a while.
They were down 8 with 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, I remember.
You can ask Coach B what Scott Drew said to him after the game if you want. I'll let him tell that story. Yeah. But yeah, no, I remember turning the game on, and I was like, dude, what the heck? And this was when I was living in Lawton. I said, dude, oh my God, I forgot they're on. Yeah. So I sat down and watched the game, and yeah, man, it was a lot of fun to watch those guys play.
Yeah, I got on Twitter and it was like, they were only losing by 5 or 6, and I'm like, okay, so I turned it on real fast.
Man, what's even crazier is but the night before they played Baylor, they were in Moberly, Missouri, and they were playing Central Christian College of the Bible, Moberly, Missouri. They played that game, got in the van, drove straight from Moberly, Missouri to
Baylor.
Yep.
Wow.
They got in at like 6 a.m., took however many hours of sleep, and played Baylor at like 2 or like 3 o'clock the next day.
Barakov creates some.
No, dude, he's nuts.
Yeah,
he schedules everything.
And his players are like, let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
It's just something we love it.
And that's the thing I think about guys that went to Hillsdale back then or Randall. They feel like they didn't get the respect they deserved. Mm-hmm. So they had a little chip on their shoulder. So they just were, let's hoop.
Let's hoop. We loved it.
And then, because what's funny is I came to watch you guys probably 2 years ago, and y'all were running a zone. And somebody had told me about the zone. And they were like, Tony, there's no philosophy to it, I don't think. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, bro, you got to come watch this. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and they're like, bro, what is that? And I'm like,
it's Vegas.
And I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out. Give me a minute. Yeah. It's halftime. He's like, did you figure it out? No idea. not an idea in the world. But I'm like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They know exactly what they're supposed to do. But I said, I even text Hodge like, you should see this. This is incredible. I don't know. I don't know what it is. People run into different spots.
It's this little matchup zone that we run. I can't say little. I mean, it really gives a lot of people problems.
Right.
It's what Jerry Tarkanian ran when he was at UNLV.
Okay.
I mean, we've played a couple Division IIs that year, and they had issues with it. We were playing at DBU at Dallas Baptist, who at that time had the NCAA Division I, Division II, and Division III longest home court winning streak to that day. We were up 6 at halftime. We played Vegas for 40 minutes. We played it from tip to end.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up losing the game. Yeah. But it gave them problems.
Yeah.
That same year we go to Rogers State. We ran it and we gave them some issues as well with it. But I mean, a lot of the times you play those Division II teams. Their 4-man or their 3-man is 6'5".
Yeah.
And our 5-man is 6'5".
Yeah.
So some of that other stuff comes into play.
Yeah.
But
so Vegas, that's what I was assuming y'all were running because y'all were undersized.
Yeah.
Whoever y'all were playing. And it really somehow takes the big out of it. And I'm like, I don't even, I'm watching, this doesn't make any sense for me.
Dude, it's great.
But it's unreal how this is working.
You say that, so, we're in the middle of a game. I can't remember who we were playing this past year at OCU. It was a home game. And we were trying to figure out, man, how do we steal a couple different possessions here in this game? And our All-American, Rashawn Coleman, turns and looks at us. He goes, Coach, let's run Vegas. And Barakov looked at me, and I looked at him. I'm like, dude, what the hell? We haven't run Vegas in 2 months.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we still 3 possessions of the game, and then it was great.
Yeah.
We worked on Vegas in 2 months, and
guys ran it fine.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, it was not great. It wasn't as sound as we wanted to be, but yeah, it was.
It got you the possessions.
The possessions. We went down and scored, and it completely changed the game.
That is crazy. It was
awesome.
Dude. So now that you've coached GA Division II, assistant at NCCAA, and now NAIA, what is the differences between the three? Do you think the main differences?
At Randall NCCAA Division II, there's no athletic scholarships.
Okay,
that's one of the hardest things. You got to find guys that are willing to come out of pocket with a little bit of money. But there are really good scholarship opportunities at those schools to help lower your bill.
Yeah.
Like at Randall and a lot of other places, they take the GI Bill. You're the veteran, the VA stuff. So if your parents were in the Army, that helps pay for school. That helps a ton. But I mean, if you look across the board, I mean, there's a lot of NAIs that if you look at their rosters, it's Division II transfer, D2 transfer, D1 transfer, D2 transfer, D2 transfer. I mean, shoot, I just looked at it. I looked at it the other day because I think we're going to go out and play another tournament in Glendale. Ottawa University in Arizona beat a Division I this year.
Wow.
They beat Denver, I believe it was. So
Denver University.
They didn't just beat them, they were up 15 at halftime.
Wow.
So a lot of the levels, people don't understand that there's guys that are all over the place that are really, really good. Yeah. There's teams that are really, really good. Look at the national championship team from NAI this year. Their 2 best players are going to transfer to Marquette and Ole Miss.
What team was that?
Loyola University, New Orleans.
Wow.
Their two best players are transferring up. Look at the Olivet Nazarene big man, the 6'10" big man. He's going Division I. I can't remember where, but he'll be Division I.
And Jalen from Bethel.
Yeah, and John. Scott.
Yeah.
Scott, man, dude, stud.
Yeah.
That kid.
And he's going Division I.
Yeah, he's going Division I. And we played them this year.
Yeah.
Dude, that kid's good.
Yeah,
That guy's really good.
I told Ton going into it because my buddy Dakota Foster, I don't know if you know the name, but he played at Bethel. He was right there when Hoops transferred to Artaz. So he got recruited by Hoops, played for Hoops the first year.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then it was Artaz. So Artaz is his guy. And he used to tell me all the time, like, dude, this dude is real.
Dude, he was. I mean, there was a game where we looked up his stat line, and he had 90% of the rebounds that his team had gathered. He had it was like 20, 20, and like 8. Dude, I can't remember what game it was.
Yeah.
But dude, did you look this sucker up? Dude, oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was a stud.
He was a stud.
I used to tell him I compare him to Doolittle a little. That's who I would compare him to.
See, I never watched Christian Doolittle play.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good. You good.
At that time, I wasn't like.
Yeah.
I think I was still playing, or like I was relatively new to coaching.
Right.
So I wasn't like cued in on how I am now.
Yeah. Oklahoma kids.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't really. I know Doolittle was a really good player.
Yeah.
State champion, I believe. OU guy, 1,000 points. I know he's a really good player, but I just never really watched him, honestly.
Yeah, so that was a person that played like him. For me, that resembled was him. It was Jalen. So I was like, of course he's gonna kill.
Yeah.
But I think also because Dakota was a shooter, 6'4", long guard, whatever. So they just played well together. But when Tunsil played him, he'd text me at the game. He was like, yo, he's real.
Dude, he's real.
And I was like, I told you this,
Scott,
bro.
No, Jay Scott's real. There's no doubt.
And I think they're one of your first games of the season, right?
They were our very first game of the season.
Oh, I didn't realize that. yeah. So y'all's first game as NAI as part of a brand new team.
Yeah.
Did y'all get to recruit a lot when you first got there, or because of COVID? No.
Coach B had we had honored the scholarships from the guys from the previous season.
Yeah, which was like
So we had some. So we only had a few spots that we could fill.
Oh, okay.
We had 2 kids come with us from Randall, and then we recruited a point guard, and then we had a kid from Richland College that came and played for us this past year.
And which one didn't get to play till the second semester?
That was Drayvon Claiborne. That was our point guard.
From the one you recruited, or from Richland?
He is from Navarro.
Okay.
He went to Navarro.
Okay.
Navarro Junior College.
Yeah, and I know a little bit about all that type of stuff because we came to watch you guys practice every time. But your big man,
Romario,
he started rocking the season. I was like, yo, is he the best player on the team? I used to ask him, like, is he the best player on the team right now? I'd see him all the time. His box score would be great.
No, yeah, Ro. So after our trip to Montana Tech, we kind of fixed our lineup, and Ro took off. I mean, he absolutely took off throughout the entire conference schedule. He was legitimately 16-10. I don't know if there was a night where he didn't have 10 rebounds.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he was, rightfully, he should have been much higher than third team all conference. That was the absolute, don't get me started. But he absolutely took off.
Yeah.
Absolutely took off. Rashawn Coleman, one of our starting guards, first team all conference, first team all SAC tournament, honorable mention All-American.
Yeah,
couldn't be happier for that guy.
That's awesome. Are they graduating?
They both walked on this past. So we had 5 guys walk this past Saturday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ryan Burt, Eric Amendio, Ellie Gomsey, Romario Spence, Rashawn Coleman.
Wow.
All walked.
And 3 of those guys played big all year, especially the second half. Because I know Burt was on a lot of box scores.
Yeah, Burt was great for us.
Yeah.
There were games where he probably struggled pretty badly offensively. But there, one game, I'll never forget. Southwest Christian at their place.
Yeah,
we had COVID issues. We had
I was there when you had the baseball players play.
We had 3 baseball guys playing for us. But Burt had 8. He had 8 rebounds, but they were monster rebounds.
Yeah.
There was times where we're up 1. Looked like SU was about to get a second chance rebound. Burt goes up, snags it, comes down. We get into a good set, and we take some time off the clock. Burt was huge for us in multiple games defensively.
That was a great game, by the way.
Dude,
I had a blast. When the I think he was a bigger kid. He had
baseball kid,
he
Jake
had a corner
Wright.
3.
Jake Wright.
And the gym just erupted. And I was like, that is so dope for them.
Jake, who actually started on the mound today for baseball.
And they won the game.
And they won OCU baseball, SAC conference champs, regular season and tournament champs.
Wow.
Shout out to my guys.
You said they're like 48-4?
Oh, they're ridiculous.
That's
they're
awesome.
so good.
That's great.
But yeah, no, Jake Wright, Sean Coleman, he right before halftime, right before he hits that, he gets into the lane and he sees the kid wide open. And we have told him all year, hey, like no matter who it is, you have to throw it because they're open. Doesn't matter who it is, just throw it, And just by force of habit, he throws it and he says the ball is halfway to him. And then he realizes who he throws it to. He goes, oh my God, I just do it to a baseball guy. Oh my God, he's going to shoot it. Yeah. And Sean's like, we're all just watching the ball. Oh my God, we went nuts.
It was crazy, dude.
Oh man, it was great.
Like I'm obviously in between, but I was just so happy for him because he was ecstatic within himself. Because
dude,
y'all were competing with legitimate non-basketball guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that just goes to show how much you guys just get them in to play hard.
Just play hard.
At the end of the day, that's all it comes down to.
That's all we ask.
Yeah.
Coach B, he's a great guy to work for because he doesn't put stress on you as a player. He doesn't cuss you out. He doesn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
We just want guys to play hard and give effort defensively.
Right.
If you could just play hard, everything else will fall into place.
That's awesome.
But no, dude, it was nuts. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, me neither.
I'll never forget that.
COVID was a crazy thing.
Yes.
Like the 6 feet apart, the no fans.
Yeah.
It was insane, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to look back on it in 5-10 years like.
This will be in history books.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to tell our kids and grandkids about this.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Especially us that coach during it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you can't even really high five your teammate because he's 6 feet away.
Yeah.
And like as coaches, we have to sit, diagonal from one another. I'm like, so then you kind of got the situation where it's like, are the coaches in front more important than the coaches in the back?
Oh,
like it was just,
gosh.
it was kind of, I just didn't.
All the circumstances are just nuts. No matter how you look at it, it's crazy.
It was crazy. And then people playing with masks. It was just like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are some of your fondest moments throughout your 8 years?
Coaching wise?
Yeah.
Man, definitely winning the national title in 15-16 was definitely one.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have the YouTube link that Coach Mossman put together.
Yeah.
And I'll turn it on every so often and I'll just watch it.
That's awesome.
And it's great. We won a couple conference titles at Randall when I was coaching, so those are up there. I mean, one for me, this is kind of selfish because it was a me thing. We played at South Dakota School of Mines, and their playbook was like thick. I'm talking like this.
Wow.
And we had just lost the night before. We're like, dude, we're gonna get crushed.
Yeah.
This is gonna not be good. But I just it was my scout, so I just do everything that I can, to get down anything on anybody.
Right.
Because we didn't have synergy at that time, so everything I'm doing is off one game look or somehow finding a YouTube link and just going off that stuff.
Yeah.
But we ended up beating them on their home court in their own Thanksgiving tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. That was one of the best. I know this sounds completely selfish, but that's one of the things I'll never forget is we won on their home court in their tournament off of my one night 6-hour scout. It was great. It was great.
Well, I mean, it's yours. You know what I mean? You got to take it for whatever it is.
And then this year at OCU, we beat 2 top 10 teams this year in the country. Southwestern Assemblies of God. They're a very, very, very good team.
Yeah, I remember that.
National tournament.
Y'all beat them at home, right?
Yeah, we beat them we lost by 3 at their place.
Yeah.
And then we beat them at our place. Mm-hmm. And then we played USAO. We split with them. What made that win sweet was we beat them on their senior night, which anybody would say that.
Yeah.
Number 9.
I was watching that, by the
number
way.
9 in the country. Damn good team.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, those were the 2 biggest games this year, and then just being able to travel to places.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people can say they've practiced at Northern Arizona, Iowa State's practice facility? I mean, I've been to the Palestra, where Penn, Villanova all play their games at up in Philly. I've been to Philadelphia twice. I've been to New York twice.
Wow.
Just those types of things, to travel like that, to see those other places and facilities is something I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
Seeing that little stuff is what is really great as well.
That's great, man. So what's next? What's in the near future for Garrett White?
For me, man, this summer, we're just a lot of work right now.
Yeah.
Not much, just working. We're gonna go out. I think we're gonna try to go out of state and recruit.
Yeah.
Go to Arizona, go to this huge high school tournament or huge high school thing called Section 7.
Yeah.
229 high school teams.
Wow.
3 days. Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
And wow, where do you even put that? Is
They
it a bunch
put
of
it
gyms?
in the where the Cardinals play at. They throw down like 6 courts.
Wow.
Like 8 courts, and they just
rock it out.
rock it out. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's what we're trying to do. That's the next one. But personally, this summer I have set goals for myself. I have 2 pairs of dress pants.
Okay.
That I'm like this close to fitting it.
Yeah.
I could feel it. Like I could see it. I'm like, all right, this is the goal this summer.
Yeah.
To be able to coach in them this next season.
You got it, bro.
2 pairs of pants. I've had them I've had them for like 2 years, and I haven't worn them once yet because I have not done what I needed to do health wise.
Okay.
So that is the goal this summer.
Yeah, you reached out to me, remember when I started, and you said you posted your tweet, and I always see when you post those tweets.
Dude, I just haven't done a good job lately, but since I'll be moving closer to OCU, it'll change.
And no excuse, you can work out
No excuse.
anytime.
I don't have any excuse.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome. Let's get you in those pants, bro.
Yep.
So kind of pause if that's if that's how that's supposed to go. But yeah, so no, it's not new news. It's on Twitter, but y'all signed a 7-1 guy.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Jack's been great. I mean, it's what time is it? It's like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 6 in the morning over there right now. So the time difference. Coach B has been talking to a lot with them. But no, man, we're excited for Jack.
Yeah.
7-1, good jump hook. So no, we're excited for Jack.
Well, the up and up is coming, it seems.
Yep.
And one thing I want to touch on before we end is, we got to give a shout out to moms.
Moms, definitely.
I met her. That's your dog. We went out one night.
Dude,
with her.
that was the fact that she has come out with me is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, yeah, Country and his mom got to be like this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally was on the phone with her on the way down here.
Yeah. You're mama's boy, you would say?
Oh, 100%. There's anyone that knows me has met my mom.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad. They've met my dad as well, but my mom. I mean, she's a constant.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were out one night, like Kaylee Clifton and a couple of the OU softball girls were hanging out with us. She's like, hit me on the arm. I'm like, what? What's up? She goes, you know who that is? I said, yeah. That's Kay. I said, that's Kaylee. I said, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
She goes, do you know who that other girl is? I'm like, yeah, that's Paige. She goes, Garrett, they play at OU. I'm like, Mom, I know that. like I know who they are. Like they're really cool. Like I don't like that's really cool. Like
right.
I know because she watches softball all the time.
Really?
TV. Yeah.
So she must love you softball.
Unfortunately, she likes all softball.
Oh, what do you mean?
Not unfortunately. That was a bad.
Yeah, I was about to say.
My bad. Cut that out.
I thought you were about to say specifically.
No, cut that out.
I got you.
But no, she loves softball.
Okay.
She's a huge fan of softball. So she was like kind of like geeking about it.
Yeah.
But like I've like hung out with them before, like just in casual settings. So
Right.
it's like cool,
Yeah.
Like whenever I see Kaylee, like, big hug, how's it going? How was the year?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. No. So like Kaylee Clifton, super cool girl.
Okay. And so mom's was awesome when I met her. She was super sweet lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I've seen her a few times now.
Yeah, she's okay.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady, man.
She's all right.
She be kicking
Don't let
it.
her fool you.
And I'm assuming that's where you get your smile from, because when I see her, she's always smiling. When I see you, you're always smiling.
She's high energy.
So that's where y'all just exact same.
Yeah, no, she's definitely high energy.
Yeah.
And then like my dad is more low key, chilled, and like that's how I have a younger brother, and that's how he is.
Oh, okay.
He's super like low key and chill and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, one thing we touched on earlier before we got on the pod is your Apex team.
Apex.
Yeah, Apex. And you wanted to give a shout out to all them cats.
Dude, all of them, man. It's not easy. Dude, Apex is extremely difficult. My guy Nick Merckx, twitch.tv/Nick Merckx, big M-Fam guy.
Wow.
I'm going on almost 2 years now of being a subscriber to his. So if he somehow sees this,
Shout
love
out
him.
to
Dude, big fan of Nick Merckx.
Yeah.
But no, my roommate, John White and Sinjin Black, another friend of ours, we play all the time, whether it was Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite, whatever.
Yeah.
Those have been the last 3 big games, and we all play together. Man, it's loads of fun. I love it.
Are you
Big
Xbox,
gamer.
PS5?
I actually have a PC.
Oh, okay.
I actually have a gaming PC.
So you're legit.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm out of control.
Yeah.
I'm like a funny story about that. It was the beginning of the year at Randall last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like playing. I got the headphones on, so I can't hear anything. And I'm playing, and my neighbor is moving into her apartment right next to me when I was living at Randall on campus, and like I'm hearing a knock on the door, and I just yell back, "Okay, hang on 1 second." And like I'm in the middle of like fighting somebody, I couldn't like just get up and like go and turn and look, and I just like freak out because I'm like whatever, and I knock on the door and I open, they knock again, I'm like, hang on, like I'm getting upset, just wait, and it was our volleyball coach Mike Freeman moving in a player. And I'm like, hey, Mike, what's up? And they're just like all laughing hysterically at me because I'm freaking out and they can hear me through the door in the wall.
Wow.
And he was like, hey, Priscilla locked her keys. Can you open the door? Yeah, okay, hang on. Yeah, hang on. And I'm like, can you guys hear me? And Mike and them are just laughing hysterically at me because of how much I'm freaking out. I'd lose my mind.
That's crazy, dude.
That stuff. Coach B makes so much fun of me because of how much of a nerd I am on that stuff. One
thing I've learned about gamers is that is what they do.
Oh, it's nuts.
And then there's no knock on them anymore. You could be 55 years old. That is what you do. That's perfectly fine.
I love it, dude. No, dude, Nick Merckx. I mean, John and I were watching him last night.
Yeah.
He was in a huge tournament for Apex. I mean, that's literally what we were doing last night. I love it.
That's crazy. Dude.
Big gamer nerd. Big gamer nerd.
Well, what's your tag on there?
Big Country 340.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm following it tonight.
Big Country 340. I don't stream or anything, but yeah, I mean, John and I, we're always playing.
Yeah.
I live with him and his girlfriend and his sister. They're both night nurses.
Oh, okay. So it's just y'all.
Oh, it just works out so conveniently. They leave from 6 to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
We're playing from like 6 to like almost 10 every night.
That's
whenever
awesome.
they leave. Oh, it's great. I love it. We love it.
Well, one thing before we leave is kids trying to play college, that are trying to get recruited.
Yep.
What is your biggest advice for them going towards the recruiting process and how to make themselves most credible to be recruited?
Yeah. The very first thing that I would say is social media. I mean, whenever we look up a kid, whenever we go to identify a kid, no matter where he is, high school, JUCO, 4-year, whatever it is, that is the very first thing that I'm going to check.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to check just your actual tweets, your retweets, your quote tweets. I mean, I'm checking your likes.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen guys' Twitters be so bad that I will just not talk to them anymore. Like, I just won't recruit them because that's a bad image because they're going to have OCU or Oklahoma City in their bio.
Yeah.
And that's like, you don't want that kind of negative attention. Like
Right.
that's not good. So that if you're like cussing or if you're like, like this will sound weird, but like liking girls' pictures when they're like half naked or, like stuff like that, I just won't recruit you. Or like I'll call you and just be like, hey man, like you got to clean this up. Like, or this is it.
Yeah.
But playing wise, that's one big thing. And then playing wise, man, just be yourself.
Okay.
What I've learned is coaches can really see if you're trying too hard. They can really see the shots that you take. That's not your shot. Or you're just trying too much.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Just play your game. If you're a slow guy, be slow.
Yeah.
If you play fast and athletic, by God, go be like Anthony Allen at Broken Arrow. Go jump 40 inches in the air. Go windmill. Go get 30 rebounds.
Right.
But just play your game. Be yourself. I mean, I love that as a coach. I love a guy that comes down and is just making all the right plays.
Yeah.
Shoot when you're open, pass when you're not.
That's crazy, man.
But social media for me is the biggest one.
That's awesome.
For sure.
I'm glad you said that because I've interviewed a few college coaches, but they have their, criteria. But I haven't heard someone say that specifically about social media.
Social media,
but as it's growing, you would assume that's definitely a big negative.
Yeah. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, I have all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like if we recruit you and you play here at OCU, I'm not like sitting at home every night and I'm like, okay, I got to check what my guys are doing. Yeah. No, I'm just like you, or I'm just like them. I'll pick up my phone and I'll scroll, and if I see like someone that Snapchatted something they're not supposed to, or say something on Twitter that that probably like something or whatever, I'd be like, hey, just make sure you understand what you're liking, because in 3 or 4 years, whenever you go get a job, those kinds of people look at that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially on Facebook. I know Facebook's kind of sort of phasing out or whatever.
Yeah.
And Twitter's been the big thing the last few years. But I've known people that have lost jobs. My aunt has told me this. She has not hired somebody because of their Facebook post because of what they were posting on Facebook.
Wow. So
just be very social media conscious on what you're doing there.
All right. There you go, players, young players, guys at JUCO that want to go to the next level. Be aware.
Yep.
Try to do your best to be clean on social media, be, appropriate, mature, do that. And schools might take you, might not, depending on that. So realize that's a thing. And then also, like you said, just be yourself.
Be yourself.
I hate when in the future or in the past, we've had guys like, hey, this school's here to watch you, and you're just trying to play out of character. When we told this coach, this is how you play.
Yep.
And then you don't do that. One, it makes us look bad, but most importantly, it makes yourself look bad.
Yes.
And so you guys that are hoping to play at the next level, just make sure you get your things in order, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and just have fun, man, at the end of the day.
100%.
But, countryman, I appreciate you.
No, thank you.
Gary White, sorry.
No, whatever. It's all the same.
Yeah, so
it's all the same.
I'll drop this gem in before we get off. Big country, and first time I met him, he was coaching the AAU team. He needed a gym to use. So I was like, hey, come to my gym, I got
Westmore,
you.
Yeah, I remember that.
We hadn't met. We just texted.
Yep, I remember that.
They're like, I let all the kids in, the coaches, or the other coaches there. All of a sudden, there's this SUV smashing through the parking lot.
Whoa.
Windows down, music blaring. I'm like, what? Parks real fast, and I'm like, who is this? They're like, oh, that's Coach. Hops out, and if you know Garrett, he kind of got like a little G walk to him. So he walks up to me, and he's like, "What's up, man? Garrett White, how you doing?" I'm like, "What's going on? You're the coach? Yeah, okay, all right."
Believe it or not, yes, I do sometimes coach.
Yeah,
but coaching is all about relationships, and you got to know the right kind of people.
Yeah, and then from then on, anytime you need the gym, I had you.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, but if you guys want to check him out, check his team out, Oklahoma City University in Oklahoma City.
Go Stars, baby.
Oklahoma. They're growing. They're getting better. They obviously had the biggest turnaround in NAIA history. So check them out. Just know Oklahoma basketball, we love it. This is what we do. Shout out, he's from Texas. Sorry, they suck. But at the end of the day, thank you again, bro.
Yes,
I really appreciate it. Have a good night. Kick some butt on Apex tonight.
I'm going to try to.
All right, Tony Talks. We out of here.